Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 22 of the anime series, Log Horizon. And I absolutely enjoyed the hell out of this episode, I have to say, because this was some much-needed downtime for the characters, everything that they've been going through, and, with the goblin hordes and having to make some kind of, relationship work with the people of the land and everything like that. It's taken up a large chunk of the story thus far. And what I love is, as opposed to other anime series that seem to want to turn series like this into a harem and have the hero surrounded by girls chasing after him and everything like that, this series has done it much more pitch perfect. They didn't start the show off like this. This wasn't something that was a theme all the way through the series. It was something that was built up and built up and built up, and you could see hints all along. And then in this episode, you finally reach this turning point where all of those things come to fruition and all of those things are thrust forward. And it all has to do with, of course, the background in Akibahara right now is the Scale Festival. Marielle has put this festival together. There's going to be a fashion show. There's going to be a cake-eating contest. And, the cake-eating contest is the primary chunk of this episode, where you have Minori, who has been very much mentored by Shiro. She's going to invite him, tentatively, to this cake-eating contest. Well, lo and behold, we have Akatsuki, who has also looked to Shiro as a mentor. She is, from the very start of the series, his ninja personal guard. That's kind of what she's made herself out to be. Regardless of her small stature, her small size, Shiro never judged her for a minute, and she appreciates that. She feels like he is someone who respects her, and in the last couple episodes, he's even told her, I could have made it this far without your assistance. You personally have helped me get to this point. So we have these two girls who have become smitten, and it's understandably, given the circumstances. And it's very interesting that the turning point comes in this episode where Shiro's like, what am I going to do? Because both of these girls invite him to this cake-eating contest. Is he going to pick one over the other? Send one home in heartbreak, that kind of thing. Of course, there is somewhat of a reluctance on the part of both girls to admit that it's romantic feelings. Akatsuki is not coming straight out and saying, I like Shiro, but we're seeing the evidence that she does. I mean, even the end credit animation shows her and Shiro kind of holding hands by the end of it, like that's her focus, So I've been wondering if and when this would come to fruition in the show. And of course, with Minori, we know that she has this fear of Shiro being feared, and she, looks up to everything that he has taught her. She kept logs. This is why her little group with Toya and Rundle House, this is why they succeeded in taking down that one dungeon, because of Shiro's teachings and because of how important they are to Minori. And so she's kind of looking at it like, again, with that reluctance of admitting it's any kind of romantic thing, she just wants to help her mentor, give him an easier time of it. And so they are at this table eating this cake. Somehow they managed to swing it so that all three could be in there, even though it was couples only, this cake eating contest. And of course the prize is to basically have a ringside table at a big event that will have Princess Lanessia overseeing it and everything. And unfortunately, they do lose. I mean, they can't eat 12 whole cakes, which is not what Shiro thinks they're actually signed up for. They're thinking like, cupcakes or something like that, much smaller food. They had to kind of bow out of it because they couldn't eat all those cakes to begin with. And you really finally have this point where, just before he finally calls it quits, they're both trying to feed him cake, and they're trying to one-up each other. And so it's absolutely just marvelous at this point to have this turning point, to have both of these girls suddenly come to that realization that, we actually like Shiro. It's not like, he's not just, in Akatsuki's case, it's not just her master that she's working for. In Minori's case, it's not just her tutor, teacher, mentor. Now they realize they're processing their own emotions. And, of course, it all comes to a head by the end of the episode because Shiro is now mulling over, the entire situation. And Akatsuki shows up, and she's very much trying to voice her liking of him. Now, I'm not entirely sure when she finally does lean forward and starts kind of rubbing his face and saying it's fun and blushing and everything. Shiro's like because he is that strategist and because he is in books all the time, he's not quite adept at figuring out that, oh, this is because Akatsuki has like a romantic interest in me. I'm not sure he's gotten to that point yet. I think he just thinks, oh, it's cute, you know, my little servant is being friendly with me, and this is kind of weird, but, you know, I don't think he's made that leap yet. Whereas Minori had actually stopped off to get him some digestive medicine because of all the cake he ate, you know, out of concern for him. She shows up and sees this. Of course, she doesn't accost either of them, but she runs out crying because of that very real emotion when, you know, you like somebody and you see they're kind of with somebody else. It really hurts, and she's really hurt by the end of the episode. It was really cool, and again, expertly pitched, I felt. By the end, having Toya, her brother, find her, and she didn't hide it. You know, at this point in the series, I mean, we only have a few episodes left anyway, would have really annoyed me if she had hidden it, but she came clean with her emotions, her feelings about Shiro, that she only just really understood of herself, that she felt this way, and Toya's like, you're only figuring this out now? We knew you liked Shiro. I mean, you're the only one who didn't know? And so it was just fantastic that she kind of has this new resolve, and I guess we're kind of sort of going to have a love triangle thing developing, and you know, I'm actually, because this wasn't something that started at the get-go. It wasn't something done for comical effect. It wasn't something done, you know, to string along in between episodes, like, you know, put filler episodes where, oh, we're going on a date, and oh, you know, that kind of thing. Because it was waited until this point in the series before bringing any of this in, and doing it in a very dramatic, realistic way, as this show has done time and again, I'm all for it. I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm riveted. I want to know, you know, is Shiro going to have to get to the point to pick between these two girls, you know, as far as a romantic relationship? Will he actually feel for either of them? And otherwise, that'll be it for me on this. I hope this video finds you well. I'll catch you all later. Peace.